Having kids is a luxury, and a lot of people don't want to see it that way, and it's a very unpopular opinion. But we're going to talk about it today, because a lot of times what happens is children feel unwanted. And a lot of times parents don't understand why a child feels unwanted. For this particular topic, there are things I definitely want to make sure I cover. So I do have my notes. So if you see me looking down, I am looking at my notes to make sure I stay on track and give you all the important information that I intend to cover in this video. So let's talk about it. The unwanted child is more specific what I want to channel into. Why do I say that having kids is a luxury? I say that because just like anything else we consider luxury in life, whether it's expensive bags, expensive shoes, expensive homes, living in expensive areas, certain types of vacations in certain areas of the world, they cost a lot of money. And not everyone has the privilege or the resources and the means to afford these things. No shade to the people who can't. It's just a way of life. Not everybody can afford everything that other people can. Billionaires can afford way more than the average person. The same way a millionaire can afford more than a lot of other people. People who make six figures can afford people who are below the poverty line. That's just a matter of class of where you fall based on your income bracket and your lifestyle. And so, like these other things, you have to make a certain amount of money to be able to afford them and to upkeep them. And kids are the same way. While having a child is your choice, it's a personal choice. And if your woman is your body, your choice. I don't think there's anything wrong with desiring children. But even as a therapist, I often question why people want children. A lot of times the response is to repopulate the earth, but also for someone to love. I want somebody to love me. I just want to share my love with someone. Let me tell you right quick, off the record. You're going to feel maybe loved when they feel around 1 or 2, when they hug and kiss you and they do everything you tell them to do. Because their first year is stressful. They got to sleep through the night. You got to feed them. You got to burp them. You got to change them. They rely on you for everything. And for some people, that does fill a void because you like to feel needed, and you should probably look into that, right? Some people are natural caregivers, and that's different. That's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but that phase is really hard. You don't feel loved. You might feel needed, but you don't feel loved. Then around 1, 2, 3, every developmental stage is different per person. If you say love you, they say it back. You say mama, they say it back. You say dada, they say it back. And it gives you all the feels. Oh, someone who cares about me. Between 3 and 5, nothing is about you. Everything is about them. And then you're like, what have I done? And we get the terms like terrible 2s or terrible 3s. And oh my God, what happened to this child? Why are they like this? Because now they're figuring out who they want to be versus who you thought they were going to be. And then for the rest of their lives, you kind of have that experience, and it just looks different. The older they get, the more words they have, the more they can express themselves, the more they have autonomy and make their own choices, and the more embarrassing and disappointing they can be. Children are definitely a blessing. I believe that as a parent myself. But they require more love than they will reciprocate. And a lot of times, if you're a parent, you may know, there are times your kids may say, I love you, and they will make cute pictures in class, in school, and things like that. But as a whole, having a kid for someone to love you back or for you to feel loved is an unhealthy way of thinking. That is not a good reason to have a child in itself, right? And so when it comes to it being a luxury, or we're considering it as a luxury, whether you make do or not based on how much you make, it's not to say just because you are not wealthy or make a certain amount of money, you cannot take care of your kids or take care of them well. You can. You can love them and you care for them. And I'm pretty sure you would do the best you can to take care of your children. No one is saying the amount of money you make will make you not do as much as you can for them. That's not what I'm saying. The thing is, the less money you have, the less resources you have, the less means you have, the less you can do. Things will work out. God is amazing. People may bless you. People may help you. But however, the struggle you feel and experience, your child will feel, even if you never say it. Children will know. And I know sometimes children come unexpectedly for different reasons. There's religious reasons, there's personal reasons, there's preference. I understand that too. But the reason, going back to the term luxury, when you talk about luxury purchases, these are choices you make. When people go out and buy a $5,000 name brand bag, they're choosing. They didn't have to. They could have went to Walmart. They could have went to thrift store. They've had so many other bags they could have chosen from that would have been less. But they chose to spend or go in debt for the $5,000 plus bag vacation, apply it where it may. In the same way that we oftentimes, not in every situation, choose to have children. It is a lot different in this political economy, and that's a mess. And we're not here to talk about politics and the restrictions they're put in. I'm saying people who are deliberately choosing, especially to have more kids after you already have some you cannot afford. And what do I mean by afford? I mean that you have to work 13,000 jobs and 13,000 hours to do the bare minimum for this child because all these jobs are low paying. I'm telling you that as somebody who was a teen mom. I had my son at 18 while I was still a senior in high school, and I was not employed. And then I went straight into college, and I worked multiple minimum wage jobs while going to school full time. And that required me to put my son in 24-hour daycare, and we had weird hours and schedules and things like that because I had school and work, and then I still needed to be a mom. I did this for years, so I'm not shaming anyone who has to do it. Do what you have to do. I, however, also only had one child because as he got older and I was figuring this out, I realized to raise a child with fidelity was hard. And because I am a single mom, doing it by myself voluntarily again did not make sense because I saw how much intention and time and money and resources and patience and emotional intelligence it took for him to be a well-rounded individual. And I personally took my job as a parent and raising him well very personally, and I wanted to do it well. A lot of people just do what they can and say, oh, well, they'll figure it out, they'll grow up and do whatever. And that is true too, to an extent. But I did feel that there was a lot of responsibility on me to at least do the best I could. And I tried to do that. He's now only 16, about to be 17. Time will tell how well I really did. I think it's a gamble no matter where you are. But again, going back to the term luxury, if you're going to choose to have kids, just like I chose to have that one, you don't get to choose what comes with it. You don't get to choose if you have a healthy child. You don't get to choose if they will be special needs. You don't get to choose who will help you, how long they'll be around. You don't get to choose life expectancy. There's so much unexpected that you cannot plan for or prepare for that happens that you don't really know what you're signing up for, and it is an expensive task at hand. Now, the second part of this, of the unwanted child, a lot of children feel unwanted even if they weren't. A lot of people have children that they wanted to have, but children also suffer. They see you struggle to make ends meet and figure it out, and they also ask me how I know, as a therapist of teenagers and children. The children complain about how much their parents struggle. A lot of times you see boys mostly who then want to pick up the slack and they get in trouble trying to make up, or they don't want to ask their parents or their mom for anything because they know they don't have it. They see the struggle. They feel the struggle. They see the sadness. They feel the sadness. They can tell their parents are stressed. I have teenagers who complain that they're tired of their parents being so stressed or being so angry or being so mean or having all these issues and not doing anything about it because they don't understand. They are not ungrateful little brats. These are children you decided to bring into the world under these circumstances, and you want them to appreciate you for doing the best you can in these circumstances when you could have given better ones, for the most part, right? And now the children is just supposed to accept whatever you can do. I do think there's an extent of appreciativeness that should be had. But however, these are kids and they don't see that at their young age. They will grow up to understand that. But in real time, there's a lot of validity to things kids say. And as someone who's had to hear kids feel unwanted, undesired, unloved, unappreciated, and this may have been you too, you knew without your parents telling you, and some parents do stop telling your kids all your business. We'll talk about that in age-appropriate conversations. But a lot of times parents don't, at least they try not to complain. They put on a brave face, which is great in theory. But however, the kids, they can sense it. They can't explain it. They can't understand it. They know. I've had to deal with children who wanted to unalive themselves because they thought it would make their parents' lives easier. True story. When I worked in middle school as a school counselor, a young lady, and I will tell this story more when I share other stories I learned as a school counselor, she was expressing ideations to no longer be around. And when I talked to her about what was going on, she said her mom was doing everything she could. She loved her mom. This was a sweet girl. She wasn't a troublemaker, none of those things. Her mom thought they were very close. And she just said, my mom has a lot of stress. She has a lot of responsibilities. It would be one less thing for my mom to worry about if I was no longer here. When I had to let her mom know what was going on, her mom broke down in tears because she was just like, but I do this and I do that. And we go to the movies. And I'm sure she did the best she could. And the daughter thought so too, to be fair. The daughter didn't think she was mean or terrible or anything. She just wanted to make her mom's life easier. So again, this is to my point. Kids can feel it. Kids know when you're struggling. They know when you're unhappy. And kids do not enjoy their parents being unhappy. Kids suffer from their parents being unhappy. I know that's not easy to hear. And that's not easy to reverse or change. But that is the truth. And somebody had to tell you. Okay? So, next thing. Kids know if you wanted them or not, regardless of the circumstances. The next thing is kids know if they're their favorite child or not. Usually the favorite child, every parent is going to disagree, but you probably experienced this growing up and your kids feel the same way. So be realistic and relatable like I talked about in my last video, and be understanding and open-minded to what your kids are saying. You always say that as a theme, that you should take feedback from children, because while children cannot always articulate themselves well, they do make a lot of sense if you are open-minded to what they have to say. So usually the favorite child is a child the parent gets along with the easiest, and the parent sees as the child they have the most in common with. They see themselves in them, or that kid complies, is obedient, and they're not the person you have to repeat yourself. They're the easiest child. And while it looks like favoritism, I don't particularly agree it's always favoritism. It's just things seems to go their way because the parent do favor them to an extent, but that child also is easier to connect with, and therefore the parent gets a favorable outcome with them a lot more easier than they do with the other children. And the other children, being young and not understanding, they think, oh, they like them more, when really it's you told your son one time, you told your daughter 3 times, and so you probably smile more with your son and talk to him more because he's going to be obedient a lot quicker. And you can apply that to any circumstance regardless of gender and age, but that usually is why children, again, based on their age, they don't understand. They're just like, oh, she likes him more. She has more fun with him. She likes to talk to him, or he likes to talk to him, whichever parent it is. But that's because you as a parent enjoy interacting with that child more. It just is what it is. Now, on the flip side, there's a child that's probably causing you the most stress. And guess what I love to tell people about that? That's the child you actually probably have more in common with. The problem for you, not for me or the kid, is that the things you have in common with that kid are things you either don't want to admit about yourself or things you despise about yourself and don't wish them to be true. And as a result, when these kids do whatever they do to annoy you, you say, I don't know where they got that from. Oh, yes, you do. They act just like you. And my new discovery with clients recently is they're like, oh, I don't understand this kid. I don't know why this kid does this. Y'all have to understand their children. They're not dumb and they're not deaf or blind. They just are not fully developed mentally. And some of y'all aren't either. But anyway, they're just not fully developed to completely understand and articulate back. But they are human, right? And so a lot of times that kid that you find the most challenging is acting just like you, but that's the 5-year-old version, right? You have temper tantrums, but as an adult, that might be drinking, cursing, going out, whatever you do. Whereas your 5-year-old, when they don't get their way, they act out too, but they throwing stuff, kicking, screaming, doing other things that are age appropriate, right? And you're just like, oh, I don't understand why they like that. Your child has your temper. Your child acts just like you. It's just the younger version of it. If you took what you're doing at 36 and translated it into a 7-year-old, what you're seeing is the same thing. And a lot of parents struggle to see it that way, but that is what it is. That's not always truth. Nothing I'm saying is 100% either direction. And as always, as a disclaimer, see a therapist or whoever, a coach or whoever you need to see, a professional, to get something specific for your needs. These are general blanket statements that may not apply to everyone or anyone, depending on how you want to admit what's going on in your life and in your house. But there are nuances that change what I'm saying to fit certain situations. I'm speaking in general based on what I see if I had to summarize a lot of the experiences that I've had with clients and children. So again, that difficult child is often things we don't want to address in ourselves. And that's why it's so frustrating. It's a personality clash because y'all are just alike. you're stubborn and they're stubborn, so y'all can't talk it out. And you see that in yourself, and you don't like it. The thing is, you're going to have to change it in you to change it in them, usually. Now, the children may grow out of it based on other people around them who cultivate it, not if you beat it out of them. We'll talk about corporate punishment another time. But that can change, right? Because they are not set in their ways as much as you may be. But you could change too. There was a lot of things about my son that the key moment for me was years ago, my best friend who asked to babysit or said she could babysit for me one day. She had him, and I remember her saying, he acts just like you. He talks just like you. It's just like you over here. Mind you, he was probably like 4 or 5. And initially, I thought that was funny and it's cute. And everything is cute until it's not. And I say if it's not going to be cute at 15 or 25, it's not cute now. Take that as you will. And I remember thinking, if he talks like me at 5 and I'm grown, that's not good. There's certain things I wouldn't want him doing and saying and acting as me. I might laugh because he's cute. But I'm like, oh no, he shouldn't be acting like an adult. He shouldn't be talking to people that way. He shouldn't respond that way. And I had to take a reflection of myself. And I would say my biggest parenting hack, hands down, which you may hear me say over and over again, is the older my son got, every time we had a challenge in our relatability in me managing or correcting behavior, I always use it as a reflection tool from that moment on of what about me and how I'm doing things could be contributing or enabling this behavior, or is he acting like me? Is this the 7-year-old version of what I'm doing right now? A lot of times the answer was yes. And I went to therapy a few times, and there was a lot of things I had to do and change over the years to better parent my son, better understand him, and better guide him on who and how he should move in the world based on, because he was a mirror for me. And your child is probably a mirror from you, not for everything, but for a lot of things that you probably don't want to admit. And so, again, that difficult child, y'all low-key could be best friends if you were more open-minded and say, you know what, I think the same way, and I know how to come about this, instead of being upset, taking it personal, taking it as a challenge and exercising power. That child is not going to respond to that stuff. That's probably the child that doesn't respond to whippings or any other punishments you've tried. No matter how mean, how much you yell, that child just does what it wants. Do something different. It's not your other child. You cannot raise all your children the same way. Each of your children may need a different parent out of you. Your parenting style for each of those children may be different. How you spend time with each of those children may be different. And that's okay. And it's hard. And that's why we should be selective about having children. And again, this is why I only have one, because this has been hard. Next part, also unpopular opinion, but a conversation we need to have. When you have a child by someone that you now could live without, let's say, or wish you never met them or whatever. We'll get into that in another conversation of how you ended up with a kid with them. But for now, the fact that you are no longer close with the other parent of your child. This goes both ways. If that child looks like them, and you do not check yourself and regulate your emotions, you will mistreat that child because of who they remind you of. I'm sorry. You will. You'll say, no, I won't. I know the difference. No, because guess what? When you're upset, you say, you look just like your mama. Oh, you look just like your daddy. Oh, you acting just like so-and-so. Right? And if you say those things or respond a certain way to certain types of instances, over time, your children will pick up, well, if you don't like my other parent and you saying I'm acting just like them, what does that mean for me? And now that child feels unwanted because you keep comparing them to the person you hate the most. And they know you hate them because you don't talk about them, or you always talk bad about them, or both. Or they see you fight all the time because you may still be living with this person. And this kid is thinking, why am I here? Why am I in the world? What is the purpose of this? Y'all are miserable. All y'all do is fight. Y'all fight over me. Because again, kids do not have the perception as an adult. They're just thinking, I'd better off not be here. Some of them, not all of them, think that way. But you comparing them to that other adult, whether it's an uncle, cousin, whoever, not necessarily the other parent, but if you keep saying they look like this person, you need to check yourself. And going back to the child that you find the most difficult, Are they actually difficult, or is it difficult to look at them in the face because of who they remind you of? We have to have these real conversations to be better parents. It just is what it is. And that brings me to this last thing. Plastic surgery. Your body, your choice. I'm not here to argue that you should not do anything you can afford to do to your body. Heavy on afford. I just want you to consider, if you are going to manipulate your appearance, what that says for the children you're going to have. That nose you hate, your daughter or your son may have it. If they hate it, what will you tell them? Are you going to say your nose is beautiful? Because if it is, why didn't you keep yours? Your child is probably going to come out, if you don't have kids yet and you've manipulated your features, when you do have kids, they're going to come out having the features that you hated about yourself. What are you going to do about it? Because just like my previous point, you now have to deal with the answer to the fact that if your kid knows you hate you or don't like yourself, when they look at old pictures of you, or y'all are there coming into themselves and like, I don't like this and I don't like that, you will now be a hypocrite if that fits your situation. And those features you hated by yourself, when you see them in your child, and your child looks just like you when you were 12 and when you were 15, when you hated your nose or hated your lips or whatever it is you hated, you are going to find it extremely difficult to love that child authentically, genuinely, through and through, because they look like someone you've always hated, and that may be yourself. And so I just want you to take into consideration on things I've shared with you today. Just do a reality check, do some self-reflection of, how do I see myself? How do I feel about myself? Do I love myself? Am I happy? Am I whole? And if so, and if not, what can I offer my children in my current state? Do I need to go to therapy? Do I need to get in the gym? Do I need to practice self-love? Do I need to practice positive self-talk? And also, how can I change the relationship and conversations I'm having with my kid? How can I check in with my child to make sure whatever I'm dealing with internally and personally is not coming out of my parenting? Because it's going to either way. So you now need to go in and probably change stuff moving forward, but also have some uncomfortable conversations with your child to see to kind of assess the damage that's been done. We all make mistakes. We're all doing some damage. Everybody's doing the best they can, hoping for the best, and we just find out when they get older how we really did. So be mindful and be careful not to take everything too personal. Just take stuff as feedback. Take it as a mental note. Okay, what can I do differently moving forward? Ask your children. I'm laughing because you have to be prepared for this answer. You need to be mature. If you are not mature, if you are not emotionally intelligent, and you are not able to regulate your emotions, do not do this. That's my disclaimer. Because this can go bad and it will not go well. But for anybody else who's working on this and want to get closer to their child, you will see that as a theme for a lot of my videos of parent-child relationships. You getting closer, repairing relationships, or getting closer to having a closer relationship with your child. Ask your child for feedback. What do you like about what I'm doing? What would you change? What do you feel like I should do differently? Does that mean to do everything they say? Absolutely not, because they're children. But there may be something that you're like, I didn't know you saw things that way. Why do you want that? Just to hear them out, because they will now feel validated, seen, and heard, and that will bring y'all closer, because they will feel like you care how they feel and their opinions, especially if you're a parent who've often shut them out or hushed them, or you send them to the room and you don't like to hear them out because they talk too much or they get on your nerves. This will be pivotal in y'all's relationship, because those things make the child feel unwanted if they feel like they can't talk to you, if they feel like it's not worth it. I have kids that tell me every day, I say, do you want a close relationship with your parent? The answer is no. And I ask them why. And they said, there was a time I would have wanted one. Granted, these are teenagers I'm referring to. There was a time I would have wanted one, but at this point, I know how they are. I know how they see me. I know they will not hear me and understand me, and I don't think it's worth trying to figure it out. And if you don't want that to be you, do something different starting now. I don't care how old they are. It will change as their ages change and the more they're able to articulate. But you have to consider there's things about you that your children are going to naturally pick up, and you have to decide if you want that for them. Break the curses, make the changes. It's going to be hard. Never easy, always worth it.